Today we're going to be discussing things I don't tell you about wedding planning. So this big monster called wedding planning, a lot of the things that people go through, you learn on the job. Like you literally learn while you're wedding planning. And so I thought I'd share my own personal experience and tips that could help somebody be better prepared for it, so that you know what to expect and you're prepared for it, and you know what needs to be done. Okay. Before you even start thinking about what dress you're going to wear, what flowers, what cards, what venue, before you even go there, hold up. First of all, there's traditional ceremonies. Depending on the culture that you come from, there's certain traditional ceremonies that have to happen. For some people, it's a one-off thing, one-off ceremony. For some people, it's a series of ceremonies. For example, in my culture, which is the Kikuyu culture, there's about 3 or 4 ceremonies, depending on if you want to go through each one by one. There is the first visit where the guy comes with other guys to come and give their intention of marriage. Then there's a second visit where the family comes, immediate family comes. Then there's something called Kuhanda Ibege. Then there's a lot of ceremonies. So educate yourself on what ceremonies are required in your culture. Think about those first before you even start to think about bridesmaids' dresses. You need to get through those first. The other thing that needs to happen before you even think about the actual wedding day is, if you're going to do a church wedding, right? If you have elected to do a church wedding, please educate yourself on what your church requires of you. And by this, I mean a lot of churches require that you go through premarital classes, right? And these premarital classes are not like ongoing throughout. There's like periods of them. So based on the date you've chosen to do your wedding, the premarital classes that apply to you may be happening at a certain period. Please educate yourself on that first. When are the dates for the premarital classes for the time that you would wish to get married? How long are those premarital classes? For myself and my husband, we went for 8 classes over 2 months. So we went for a class every week for 2 months. And please find out how many are they, where are they going to be. And I think there's a lot of value in some of these classes, depending on where you go. We found them very valuable. We found them very informative. So please find out, what does your church require before you can get married in that church, right? Don't just, now, the wedding day is a week from now, so when you're telling your pastor, my friend, you'll be shocked. You'll be very shocked. Find out what they require. And number 3, so important. Please educate yourself on the AG requirements. Before you even start thinking what shoes will your flower girls be wearing, there are some things that the AG requires for you to have completed. I don't remember the actual specifics, but you can find them on Google. My church, I remember, provided us with a list of what we need to do with the AG first. You'll find that I think 3 months prior to the date of your wedding, you need to go and to the AGs. Then they need to announce sort of the banns of marriage. They need to announce those for 30 days. Then you need to go back after those 30 days. There's some requirements they require of you. At some point, you go about 3 times. There's some point where they require you, on the second visit, they require you to come with your wedding invitation card to show where the wedding will be. It's a set date and all of that. So, you need to have printed your wedding cards before you go back the second time. Please educate yourself on all these processes, as well as, and in conjunction with, Some churches, if you're going to do a church wedding, some churches also do, there's announcements of bans of marriage. Most churches do them. There's 3 announcements. So you need to know what dates those will be. And they only happen when you've finished with your AG stuff or in between your AG stuff. They need to announce, you need to be there for those announcements. You need to provide some documentation from the AGs to the church for those announcements to be made. So there's a lot of things, my friend. Educate yourself on those things first. And so that you're on time with everything that is required before the actual wedding day. Whatever your budget is, please make an allowance of some amount on top. Now, I say this because as time is going, there are so many things that are changing. There's inflation, tax has increased. So you may have thought you'll do a wedding for 100,000, 200,000, 300,000. And then after you've gotten your quotations from suppliers, you discover, oh no, it's about 500,000 for everything. Please, whatever your budget is, just be prepared to put an amount on top. Just be prepared for an additional amount on top, because chances are it's not going to be exactly what you thought it will be. For example, during my wedding, we had thought in our minds we will spend 300,000 for the entire wedding. No, we spent around about 500,000. Yes, 500,000. That's when you include everything, your wedding gown, your groom's attire, all those things came to about 500,000. So be prepared for that. And in connection to that, whatever your planned numbers of guests, right? Also make an allowance for something on top. Now, things have kind of changed with Corona. There is like fixed numbers for wedding guests. And unless you have an invite only kind of a wedding, please try to make an allowance for a few more guests above what you plan for. So make an allowance for additional food, make an allowance for additional chairs, please, because we're Africans and it's in our culture, whether you think it's right or wrong, but it's in our culture for people to bring plus one, even when they know there's a fixed number of wedding guests. It's crazy. That's just the way it works. And if things ever go back to normal, I remember our wedding budget was for about 500 people, but I'm pretty sure we fed about, I want to say 200 people above that, to be honest. This is from my caterer at the wedding. She was like, I definitely fed people more than 500. So she came with an additional, and we had prepared for that. We were like, we're planning for 500, please come with 700 plates, 700 everything, just in case. So be prepared for that. 3, decide what are your must-haves. For you, this now is for your wedding day. Decide what are your absolute must-haves, right? What is your priority? Now, the wedding industry is such a big industry, right? There's a lot of money to be made. Weddings can just be blown out of proportion, can be outrageous in terms of cost, in terms of the things that can be provided for you. Like literally, you can, if you want a jet to ferry your guests, like you can get that if you have the money for it. So if you are not focused on what are your must-haves, you could get carried away. You may say everything and you want it, and probably your wallet is not agreeing. If it is and you want it, good and well for you. I am talking about regular people with a fixed budget. Please know what are your must-haves so that you don't get carried away by it, because there's so many things to attract your attention. You want this, you want that. No. What are your must-haves? For us, I remember our must-haves were, I think for us, our must-haves were, it was so important for us to honor God in our wedding. And so doing it the church way was so important for us. So we definitely needed to do it in church. That was our must-have. We really wanted to have that opportunity to celebrate this new chapter of our lives before God. Okay, so that was our must have. Again, our must haves: food, my friend. Like nobody. Remember, our wedding is a party. It's a party. That's all it is. You want to feed people. People came really early for your wedding. They're going to be there the whole day. They need to eat. Please ensure that there's enough food, quality food for people. It doesn't have to be outrageous expensive. It can just be our regular African Kenyan dishes, but make sure it's good food, it's healthy food. Like you don't want people getting food poisoning at your wedding. So, um, so chat for us, food for us was essential, and music. We were very adamant that we wanted our guests to have a great time. We wanted to have a great time. So we wanted great music. So a good DJ with great equipment and a good MC. That was for us our must haves. Everything else we were flexible. Like we were flexible. Okay. So this number 4. This is an interesting one. Uh, you can have a wedding without flowers. I promise you, you will not die if you have a wedding without flowers or minimal flowers. Okay. I'll insert some pictures of mine, my decor. I literally, the only flowers that were at my wedding were my bouquet and the arc at the church where you get your photos done. And even the bouquet, I promise you, I'm not gonna carry it. At the end, I thought it would be cute to have like the throwing of flowers at the end and whatever. So I needed a bouquet. The lightest, like literally, I think my bouquet had like 4 or 5 pieces of flowers. I promise you. I'll link it here. I'll show it here. My bridesmaids didn't have flowers. My flower girls didn't have flowers. My reception did not have one flower. You can have a wedding without flowers. Now, with that being said, if you do want flowers, get them. By all means, get them. Me personally, one, I'm a conservationist and I know the amount of environmental destruction that goes into the production of flowers. Flowers that will literally be there for people to look at for like 6 hours. And then they're trampled on. So kids are running away, running around with your flowers. They're stepped. I thought it was a waste of money. And by the way, when I looked at the cost of flowers on my suppliers, and my supplier sent me the list of the breakdown of the costs for decor, the flowers was so damn expensive. For what? For people to look at for 6 hours and then trample on and be thrown away. I was just like, girl, I crossed out the flowers. I don't want flowers. I don't want them. And let me tell you, to this day, that decor, to die for. I loved it. Not a single flower, but it was beautiful. It was African themed, African safari themed, and we got a lot of like statues and different centerpieces that were like African themed, safari themed, wildlife themed, and it was so cool. And I got a lot of good feedback from my guests and my friends. So do not be lied to. Yes, a wedding can have no flowers and still be good or minimal. Okay. Now, how do you get your wedding suppliers? One amazing way to get them is through referrals and social media. Yes, I said social media. Now, referrals first. Referrals are good because this person is giving you the contact of someone they have actually experienced themselves. Right? So I got referrals from people who had used these suppliers for their own wedding, and they were comfortable enough to say this person was great at their job. And I can tell you, the stories you hear about Sijui what supplier didn't show up, Sijui they did what, me, I didn't have any of those things at all. Now, with that being said, before I go to that, let me talk about social media. Social media in this day and age is such a great marketing tool. Go on there, look at people's work. Look at people's work. In fact, I say, if you have a business in this day and age and you don't have a social media platform where I can look at your work, you're a ghost. You're a ghost supplier. I don't trust you. That's just me. Because I'm like, why wouldn't your work be out there? Why wouldn't you be comfortable enough to put out your work, to show what you're doing? You are in business. So me already, by the time you're telling me you don't have anywhere I can look at your work and you're in the wedding business, that's red flags for me. So I got, in fact, my Decor lady, I got online. Just scrolling up, looking for Decor companies, looking at their work. That's where I got her from. Call them, talk to them, and meet them. It's well and good to find somebody on social media, my friend, but make sure you meet this person. Talk to this person one-on-one. Because again, social media also, a lot of catfishing can happen. So please, find this person, know them, talk to them, engage with them, and just meet every one of your suppliers. It's okay if you have a committee and they're helping you out, meeting different people, but please, you as the groom and bride, meet every single one of your suppliers, and not once. Don't meet them once. Meet them multiple times. Meet them on the first day introduction, what do you do? Talk to them regularly. Meet them at the venue. Give them your vision. Because, they could do their own things if you just spoke once and no regular communication. The last one for me, and this might get mixed reviews, mixed feedback. That's okay. This is my personal opinion. Now, it is okay. It is okay within reasonable boundaries to ask for some form of help for the wedding from your loved ones and from your close family and friends. It is very okay. Now, there's two sides of this spectrum. One, there's people who entirely, first of all, have set their budget at ungodly numbers, and they expect their people to meet that budget for them entirely with no contribution from them. No, that's a no. And then there's the other side of the spectrum who believe this is our wedding, we don't want to bother people, we don't want to look like a burden. So you're there, you're shouldering the entire planning and budget of that wedding. This is my take. As I said, a wedding is a party. The minute you do your traditional ceremony, you're actually married. You're married legally. The minute you sign your AG's documents, you're married. You can as well do an AG wedding. Go to your AG, do the little ceremony, get it done. You might even go to your pastor, do a very small thing, just you and your witnesses, and be married. But you have chosen to throw a party to allow the people who love you, the people who care about you, the people who are in your life, to be part of you starting this next chapter. Right? And in fact, a lot of the times, weddings they're for people. Weddings are a party for people. Okay. With that being said, if you're coming for a party, you want to be part of this person's journey and next step. you're coming for this party. Why? I feel it is in order to help these people set up that party for you. It's my personal opinion. And when I say help, it doesn't have to be financial. If it's financial, well and good. Some people come and say, I offer my car for the bridal party, for the parents. I offer this, I offer that. It can be in kind. It can even just be moral support, right? You want this party, you want to be part of these people's going into their next stage, right? You can offer your presence, you can offer your advice, you can offer your referrals, right? So that on that day of the party, when you come, you will be received, not you'll be received, but I think for me, it boils down to Ubuntu, that Ubuntu concept where one for all and all for one, right? You want to be a part of these people's next chapter. Why don't you help them foot the requirements of this party? Because otherwise, they could even just go to the AG, get married and be done. And if that's what you want to do, well and good, respect that. Right? But many of us, our African culture, we want to have this big party, this big celebration. Everybody wants to be a part of it for good reasons, right? So help this couple where you are able to. That's my opinion. So it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to ask for help. Ask for help within reasonable boundaries. Again, don't set your wedding budget at 3 million and think people are going to come through. You need to be aware of your circle of people, what is reasonable for them, what is reasonable for you, what is reasonable to ask. And you need to accept whatever you're given. If people offer their time, if people offer their presence and support, receive it, give thanks for it, and be grateful and gracious for it. Yeah. So yes, those are my 6 tips about things they don't tell you about your wedding. If you have any more that you have encountered in your own journey, please feel free to share them in the comment section. Share your own experiences, share your own tips, share your own things they don't tell you that you have learned in your own journey. And let's interact. Let's have this conversation. Thank you, and come back again for yet another video. Bye.